Hello, and welcome back to Cultivated World, the channel that brings you the good stuff from the world of watches. Today, we're looking at the newly released 2020 Rolex Submariner and checking out the latest updates to everyone's favorite watch. Did Rolex do the right thing by increasing the case size to 41mm? Let's dive straight in and take a look. So, here it is everyone, the all-new Rolex Submariner with reference 124060. So, what's new, I hear you ask? Well, nothing and everything. Allow me to elaborate. Look at this Submariner. Was it a new 2020 model? Or was it a discontinued model? If you said it was a 2020 model, you'd be wrong. It was actually one of the discontinued Submariners. Now, if you were to say it's basically the same watch, just with a millimeter difference in size, you would be doing the new Submariner a great disservice. Let's look at all the changes Rolex has made to create the latest Submariner. The most talked about change was the increase of the case size from 40mm to 41mm. After measuring and comparing the two models in hand, the new version has actually only increased in size by about half a millimeter, but is 41mm if you round to the nearest millimeter. The bracelet on the Submariner has increased in width by 1mm. In theory, this should make the watch more sturdy on the wrist, but it does result in a slightly wider clasp, which just gives a larger area to scratch whilst you're desk diving. With the increase in bracelet size and lug width, this puts the Submariner in company with the Sea Dweller, and now has a larger lug width than all other Rolex models in the range. The lugs have also been reshaped and are now 1mm narrower from the outside of the lug to lug. This, combined with the increase in bracelet width, means that the lugs themselves are 1mm narrower on each side, giving a much more extreme taper. The lug size of the outgoing Submariner has been a bone of contention for many, and looking at the two different models side by side, it's easy to see why. The case on the discontinued Submariner was created at a time when there was a growing sentiment for larger watches on the wrist. Rolex simply beefed up the case to give the watch more wrist presence, whilst maintaining the core DNA of the Submariner. The new Submariner keeps the overall dimensions of the case the same, but simply increases a millimeter here and takes away a millimeter there. The result is a watch that fits similarly on the wrist to the model that preceded it, whilst maintaining at least the same level of wrist presence. This, alongside the redesigned crown guards, which are now half a millimeter slimmer, creates a more elegant Submariner which is much more graceful on the wrist. The dial and hands are very much the same as before, with very subtle differences here and there, which we won't be going into now. The most notable change on the dial is the introduction of the coronet between Swiss and Made at the 6 o'clock position, and this is maybe the quickest way to tell if you're looking at one of the latest Submariners. One of the biggest differences with this Submariner is the upgraded movement, featuring the new in-house COSC certified 3230 movement. This is based on the 3235 movement, which was first introduced in 2015 and has a power reserve of approximately 70 hours. This means you could take your watch off on a Friday evening and it would still be ticking when you put it back on Monday morning. Rolex is not a company that is known to react to the cries from the general public. If that were the case, we would all be wearing blue steel Submariners and Coke bezel GMTs. Rolex, if you're listening, please remake the red and black GMT. However, on this occasion, it does seem that Rolex has noticed what people have been asking for and has given us exactly what we wanted. A contemporary Submariner in a modern size, but with the lines and shape of the older, sleek Submariners. Has Rolex now reached the pinnacle of the dive watch? Is this now the perfect Submariner? Let us know your thoughts and comments in the section below. We thank you for watching and it is much appreciated. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and remember to hit that bell icon.